Good to have you with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. If you are a liberal, a Democrat, this is probably your finest hour since the election. The Republicans have proven that they cannot govern. They can oppose, but they can't govern. And that's a line that I'm stealing from a congressman, which I'll tell you about in a moment. It's the worst nightmare for the Republicans for 7 years. They have opposed Obamacare, and today they pulled the vote. This is Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, talking about his conversation with the president.
I spoke to the president just a little while ago, and I told him that the best thing I think to do is to pull this bill, and he agreed with that decision. I will not sugarcoat this. This is a disappointing day for us. Doing big things is hard. All of us, myself included, we will need time to reflect on how we got to this moment, what we could have done to do it better.
This is a reality check for the Republicans. They have gerrymandered themselves into a position in the House. I don't know if there's going to be a big turn in the majority in the midterms in 2018. We're a long way from there. We're short into President Trump's administration, and I don't know if they can recover from this. I think they'll be able to do tax reform because tax cuts are easy to get in Washington. He's going to get this conservative on the Supreme Court. But the big thing that they campaigned on was Obamacare, and they can't get rid of it. And moving forward, Speaker Ryan makes a very profound point.
You've all heard me say this before. Moving from an opposition party to a governing party comes with growing pains. And, well, we're feeling those growing pains today. We came really close today, but we came up short.
Really close with a bad bill. If you look at this, the polling on this was never any good. Anywhere you look at, Obamacare outpolled this bill. So you could make the case that the Republicans did a horrible job selling it. Secondly, the numbers from the CBO were never good. They were always bad. It left too many people without insurance, and it didn't do any deficit reduction that they wanted it to do. And it was the Freedom Caucus that in the end was saying, no, we don't like the pre-existing conditions. We don't like that you get to stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26. So they played hardball, and now the entire party is going to pay for it. And the Democrats made the right decision by holding their caucus. This is your game. We're not going to help you out. So it's the worst nightmare, a real reality check for the president. North Dakota Congressman Kevin Cramer, I asked him for a comment. He texted me back. He says it's soul-searching time for Republicans. Can we govern or just oppose? Question mark. And I think that's where it is in a nutshell. So what's going to happen with Obamacare? Ryan admits it's the law of the land.
Yeah, we're going to be living with Obamacare for the foreseeable future. I don't know how long it's going to take us to replace this law. My worry is Obamacare is going to be getting even worse. Actually, I think we were probably doing the Democrats a favor. I think we were doing the architects of Obama a favor by passing this law before it gets even worse. Well, I guess that favor is not going to be given to them, and it's going to get worse.
So where does Trump go now? Speaker Ryan says tax reform.
Yes, this does make tax reform more difficult, but it does not in any way make it impossible. We will proceed with tax reform. We will continue with tax reform. That's an issue I know quite a bit about. I used to run that committee. I spoke with the president, the Treasury Secretary, and his economic advisors earlier today about tax reform. So we are going to proceed with tax reform. This makes it clearly more difficult. You know how the numbers work. It's about $1 trillion.
Two takes out of this. Number one, from Capitol Hill. This just underscores how divided the Republican caucus is. It's almost like there's two different parties. The moderates are over in one corner, and the righties, the Tea Partiers, are over in the other corner. They can oppose, they can obstruct, but they can't govern. That's what we're finding out. As far as Trump is concerned, watch him. You watch Trump. He's going to wash his hands of this, saying, you know, I told you what it was like in Washington. This is nothing but a swamp. They did the best they could to get this bill out there. I can only do so much. They know I wanted it. They didn't follow me the way I wanted to, the way you wanted to. And these guys that obstructed our own party, you know what you ought to do? You ought to get rid of them. That's one play that Trump could come out with. Now, the question is the Democrats. It's going to be really, really hard for Nancy Pelosi to go over to the White House or for the White House to ask Nancy Pelosi to come over and say, you know what? We got to do a better job with Obamacare. What do you say we fix it? I just don't see that happening. It would be a great play for the Democrats politically, But do they have it? They hate Trump so much. The country that opposes Trump hates him so much. I don't know if the Democrats are just going to try to run out the clock, but the reality of it is this. Will there be enough independents across the country who are going to be pissed off at this result that it might even overtake the gerrymandering that's been done in these Republican districts to basically what they've done is socially engineered the House of Representatives? I don't have an answer for that nor a take for that. Only time will tell. I do know this, that Trump has a way of wiggling out of stuff, and he'll figure out how to get out of this one. This is on the House members who for years before Trump was around, and I'm not trying to give the president any cover, I'm just stating a reality here. 7 years ago, Trump wasn't in this mix, but there's a lot of Republicans that did not vote today because they had such a cesspool in their caucus that they've been opposed to Obamacare all these years and they can't get it done. So as Kevin Kramer sent to me, there's frustration. It's soul-searching time for House Republicans. Can we govern or just oppose? Question mark.
The only thing I would say is when we come up to this, like you said, okay, what is the fallout from this? We are, how many months? 20
well,
months
let me tell you
so?
one positive thing. There's millions of Americans that are going to keep their insurance.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's get to the chase here. Is it going to be more expensive? Yes, it is. But wait a minute. It was more expensive during the Bush years, too. We saw double-digit increases for 8 years in a row under Bush. They did nothing about it. That's why Obama ran on health care. He had a plan, and John McCain didn't. So you got to look at this in a generational aspect here.
Are we going to see? Is it going to be the same as a Bush president? Conservative justices on the court, tax cuts, no health care.
Look, here's the reality. Trump is going to get a conservative on the Supreme Court. Okay, Schumer can talk about, well, we're going to filibuster him. So what? They'll go nuke option. That's what's going to happen. The other thing is that they're going to get around to tax cuts, reduce the business tax rate. And Trump's going to be just like Bush. Put conservatives on the Supreme Court, give out a bunch of tax cuts. The question is, will he drive us into a war? Ed Schultz, News and Commentary. Have a good weekend.